We spent several months looking for a screwdriver that not only we could use ourselves, but we could promote and feel good about. And wouldn't you know, we found it by going right to the source, the original Robertson. And if you haven't looked into the history of the Robertson screw, you should. It's an interesting read. But the nice thing about this, come in 3 different sizes, standard, junior, and stubby. The handle shape is such that you can get a lot of torque on it. And the older you get, the more you'll appreciate that. It's kind of a soft rubber. Not really soft, but it appears to be. Lots of torque, and if you haven't tried these before, the screw holds onto that. Just will not fall off. So if you're having to reach in somewhere, it's great. In fact, it'll actually hold on to the screwdriver.
Rocket League?
Until you've used these, you really don't know how easy it can be to put a screw into a piece of wood.
Yeah, you're in the video game.
Okay, we're live.
As in go?
Yes.
Hi, folks. Welcome. Strange to have been 2 weeks past since we were last in your company. It's done nothing for my voice. Hopefully the microphone is close enough you'll be able to hear me. So give you a good welcome tonight. First of all, I need to acknowledge that if you look at these two clowns behind me, Tweedledee and Tweedledum, turn around. These are our new Purple Heart hockey jerseys. Frick, think you could spill something? Try not to wreck my good bench. Anyway, so we have we play hockey in the summer 3 nights a week, and we sponsor it. So to raise more awareness for Purple Heart, we now have jerseys. And if you're interested, we're going to sell them as well. Guys want to get into the team spirit, we'll give you a chance. Don't forget our t-shirts to help us spread the word about the Purple Heart. Give you a quick update. All of our classes, I think I already told you this, but I'll just in case you didn't. All of our classes for 2020 have had to be moved to 2021. The border is still closed and don't anticipate it opening anytime really soon. Not soon enough to have our classes. Good news is we're taking over a 4,000 square foot building out behind us that we're going to make a new classroom. We're going to have a proper kitchen and a dining area, a quiet room for those who have to lay down. A lot of guys have TBIs, get bad headaches. And then we'll have a bigger classroom, which is going to allow us to go back to having 14 instead of 12. We're also going to add an April class so that we can get a few more people in. Everyone that was registered for 2020 gets first crack at the same class, or they can mix, take a different one if they want, but they have first crack at the 2021 classes. There will be at least, how many spots for civilians?
13.
There'll be 13 spots opened up for civilians.
At least.
And at least there'll be a few people I'm sure won't be able to carry from one year to the next. And there'll be 13 new spots for combat wounded vets. That's down from what we normally do, but under the circumstances, that's all we can do.
Can you pull your apron up about 4 inches?
Why? Because you can't
Well,
hear?
it brings the mic closer.
Okay. What else I need to... Oh, so tonight Manoli's going to come in at 7:30 Eastern and play us a couple of original tunes to help advertise the guitar that was donated by the East Tennessee Luthiers Guild, headed up by Paul down in Knoxville. I'll open it up, let you see it. And there's a lot of history on this in terms of who made it and various parts, but you'll hear how it sounds tonight when Manoli uses it. And we have a new guy that works here. His name is Harold Snodgrass. And Harold is a retired cabinet maker. And Harold makes these, they're not called wind chimes. What are they called? They're just whirligigs or whatever, but you hang them up, and when the wind blows, they spin around like that. And Harold was generous enough to donate that to auction off tonight. So if you'd like to have that hanging in your back porch or front.
Are you calling it a whirligig?
No. Well, whirligigs are different than that. But anyway, let us know. Just put it in the comments section. Proceeds will go to the Purple Heart Project. And somebody sent me this. Do we know who sent this?
Gary Burnett.
Oh, Gary did. I'm not sure what this means. Of course I'm right, I'm Rob. So it must be an underlying message there. Tonight we're going to finish off Angie's lap desk, or bed desk, sorry.
Finish? Are we sure this time?
Yes. And we're going to throw in some questions, do some Q&A as well. So I think we'll take all live ones. Actually, we didn't put them. Yeah.
I never made it through a list.
We'll do the live ones, and we'll go to if we need to, we'll go to the backup ones that came. What else am I forgetting? Purple Heart Project is a program where we bring in combat wounded veterans. We do it 6 times a year, 7 next year, for a 6-day, very intense hand tool workshop. We run the class from 8 in the morning until 11 o'clock at night. We hold it right here. We have breakfast, lunch, and dinner right here, so nobody leaves, and they get in maximum bench time. They learn how to set up and sharpen freehand a hand plane. They learn to cut dovetails and assemble them right from the saw. They'll learn through dovetails, half-blind dovetails. They'll learn to cut mortise and tenon joints. They'll actually build a little box, dovetailed on 4 corners. They learn to dimension lumber from rough to ready. They'll learn to set up and use their chisels. And for the combat wounded vets, we provide them all those tools that they use that week, and then they take them home with them. They're theirs. It comes out to about $3,400 worth of tools. We also have the Bench Brigade, which is something we started a few months ago, headed up by Jack Lane down in Texas. And that are civilian volunteers who commit to building a bench, and so that each one of these combat wounded vets, and we're even reaching back to our last 3 years of classes, each of those guys, and there's 3 gals in there too, will have a bench provided for them, shipped to their house, just like the ones they use here, so they'll be able to work on it. We've had some problem with the vices. We had a limited number come in. We've been swamped with orders. This is supposed to be the slow time of the year. It's not. It's been busier than Christmas. So I apologize if you're out there building a bench and you're waiting on a vise. It's a logistical problem that we're trying to deal with. So you have to give us, you have to be patient a little bit. And I know you're excited about wanting to deliver that bench, and we appreciate that, and so do the vets. Angie, I assume, is with us tonight. Angie is the one, she works with us. She packages up all of the t-shirts, so when you get it, it's nicely bundled up. That's where it came from. And this thing is going to run down my arms all night long.
Wants to know if you're wearing a larger shirt so you don't feel so bad about all the weight you've gained.
Actually, this is Dave's. He left it here. Afterwards, I'm going to have it cut into 2 shirts for me. Speaking of and beating up on Super Dave, at the top of the hour, we're going to have a special guest come on and tell you from a personal perspective what the Purple Heart Project does for some of these combat wounded veterans. So Super David Benson from upstate New York, originally from Alaska, is going to be our guest tonight. And Dave's been around a long time, so that should show when he does his intro. Might be funny. Nothing else, we go to work. Pardon my voice. If you can't hear me, say something, and I'll...
I need to mention who's on, who's here.
Who's here? Oh yeah? Jake? It's been around.
Well, we already got us with the hockey.
Not wearing a jersey.
Yeah, but we didn't...
Jake behind the camera.
Known as Tweedledee and Tweedledum.
The Frick behind the operation. Rex, who now works with us full time. So if you buy a marking gauge or a mallet or some other things, it'll probably be as a result of Rex. We've actually increased, I counted the other day, I think we have 14 people that now work with us, part and full time. So we've been busy. But that's great, we appreciate it. Megan? Megan's at home watching.
Yeah, but your phone.
So, you want me to turn that down? I thought I did. Megan is back from Utah, and she is at home because she has to quarantine, and she is keeping an eye. How's she going to do that?
She can message me.
She's going to message Frick. So if you're a combat wounded vet that has been to our class or one of our classes, we'd love to give you a shout out. Just write that in there in the comment section, your name, the fact that you were a combat wounded vet and that you're in one of our classes. Megan will forward it to Frick, and we'll give you that shout out. Love to recognize you. And Ken, I don't think Ken's on tonight. Luther, out in I think he's on a nudist beach, he told me.
I heard
That's
that
not
too.
a very, huh?
I heard that too.
That's not a,
For the sake of everyone else, I hope
Yeah.
he's the only one.
yeah, right. Hopefully he's alone. But I think he's out there, sunburning. He'll be on tonight answering some of the questions, as will Super Dave, who's doing double duty.
He's here.
Who's here?
Luther's here.
Luther is? Yeah, don't get him on FaceTime.
Megan said Ken is on.
Ken is. Oh, good, Ken. I was talking to Ken earlier. I won't say anything more. All right, let's go to work. So the last thing we did, and it's been a while, we have this so that it's fitting in there, and now what we have to do are finish off those little slots on the side so that that stops where we want it. And I'm going to, well, actually, what I'll do is I'll measure so we know how far. Frick, when questions come up, let me know.
Sure.
So that is at the 1/2 inch mark. So what we want is we want to finish that at the 1/2 inch. Actually, I want to go a little bit more because I want that to be set in just a little bit. I don't want that to stop flush. I want it to be set in there. So that means if that's at the 1/2 inch mark, then we want less than 1/2 inch here,
So
right?
should you use your marking gauge flipped around for that?
No, but I should get more powerful glasses. Actually, I already put the mark on there. I did. So that's where we need to be. That's exactly where we need to be. Now, how are we going to do that? How are we going to hold it so it doesn't wreck anything? Turn it this way. And I should be able to put pressure. Now, the nice thing about this style of vise, let me plug this for a second, is this style of shoulder vise allows a little bit of pivoting on the horizontal axis. So if you're clamping something that is not uniform thickness throughout, it'll still hold it tight. In this case, this dimension is a little bit larger than this one, but that'll still hold it nice and firm. Doesn't move on the vertical axis, only on the horizontal. What are you whispering about? I can't hear you.
Oh, nothing important. I'm just craving ice cream.
Oh, me too.
Why?
I don't know. I just had a hankering for ice cream. I was going to send Rex to get some.
Oh, how are we going to do that?
The ice cream?
No.
I'm just kidding.
No. My concern is just I don't want to be pounding on this. I want it to be nice and neat. I want that bottom to be nice and neat as well. I guess what we ought to do is score it with a square. No questions, Frick?
Can't use that.
What?
Can't use that striking knife.
No questions, Frick?
There's one I'll ask later because it's a little more long-winded. But Danny Bell's here. Bob Abbott's here.
Hey, Danny. Hey, Bob.
Ahmed's here.
Ahmed.
Ahmed
needs to become part of our. He's how do we fit him in? What are we going to call him?
the wood specialist.
Advisor.
The wood advisor?
Gary Burnett's here.
The
Sean
advisor.
Hey, Gary.
Sean McDermott. Kevin Burris.
Hey, Sean, Kevin. Dev, I just saw I didn't get a chance to take a close look at it. I just saw it on Facebook. You posted some of that stuff you built. I have to have a closer look at it.
Kevin Smear is here as well.
Kev, how you doing, brother?
And Angie, of course, is here for sure.
Yes, Angie. Is this all stuff coming in from Megan?
Yep.
Now I'm being particularly careful because I want this end wall to be neat. Which means I don't want it to go too deep.
Charlie Ray is here.
Hey, Charlie. So used to cohorting with these guys on a weekly basis. This idea of Frick's to only do it every other week is a bad one.
It's not mine.
It wasn't?
No, it's Luther's.
You're the one that went to work.
Well, normally I'd be DJing weddings, but of course there's none of those right now. So
People aren't getting
I'm
married.
free. They want to know who our favorite hockey team is. Rob and Jake are Pittsburgh fans. I'm a New York Rangers fan. Rex?
Non-existent.
What? You don't have a team?
He's holding out.
For the crack.
I'm waiting for the winner, and then I'll let you know.
A bandwagon jumper.
All right, I need to put a little bit of an edge on this. That is super soft material. So you got to have incredibly sharp tool. Now this I'm using a 17 degree. So what this is a regular chisel that has a primary bevel. Instead of at 25 degrees, which is what you might call normal, this one has a primary bevel of 17 degrees, which means no good on hardwood, wonderful on softwood. That really low angle will allow you to get in there and sever those fibers without having them crush under the weight of the cutting edge. Questions, Frick?
No.
No?
Luther's handling most of the...
Well, how are we going to do a Q&A if Luther's answering them privately? Huh? All right, I'm going to use the small router plane. If you don't have one of these, I would suggest you get one. They're not expensive. They're extremely versatile. Now, the nice thing about it is you get several different cutters with it.
You do?
Yeah, yeah,
They come with it?
yep. Comes with I think 4 different ones. And maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think so. Now I need to determine which
They're
direction.
only like $85.
I know. I think I want to come this way. Yeah. You have to be careful so that you don't mess up the sidewall when you're pulling this along. Now I've got a problem because I've got to go the other direction. We'll see what happens. I'm holding this up off of the drawer side a little bit just so I can take a lighter pass.
So Claudio wants to know, besides dovetails and mortise and tenons, what other joinery methods are good to learn?
Well, the skills that you learn, or the skills that you develop in cutting those two joints, which is essentially sawing and chiseling skills, means that just about everything else is going to be relatively easy. I got to do this one by hand.
They do not come with extra blades.
They don't? You have to buy them separate?
Yeah.
I got to put an edge on this.
They don't sell 1/8 inch, they sell 3/32.
Tongue and groove, which is kind of a mortise and tenon. Dowel, but that's all that is, just a reinforced butt joint. I think learning how to do a good edge joint, with joining two boards together, is critical. And two pieces of wood joined along their edge don't need anything. The glue joint will be stronger than the wood itself, but you need to learn to be able to process it so that when the two pieces come together, there's no gap. All right, I'm going to try to go in there and just... That's not going to cut clean like I want. I don't know how to do that any other way. I've got to be able to cut this way with the router plane. Can't get in there. I mean, I could come around this way a little bit. This is not working the way I want.
Mark's on too.
Mark who? Oh, Mark Smith?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's good. Mark, miss you, brother.
Probably on with his kids too.
So you remember Mark was a Canadian combat wounded vet who was working with us. He had to go back to his regular job, so he hasn't been here in a while.
A question from Juan Carlos Moreno, and he says, a helical head on a joiner or a planer if I can only get one.
Shoot. I would probably... I'll tell you the reason why that's a tough question to answer is because if I had to change knives on one or the other, I would change the knives on a jointer all day long. Changing knives on a thickness planer is pure hell. So for that reason, I would say put the helical head on your thickness planer. From a user perspective, I think I use my joiner more than I use my planer, so I would like to have them on my thickness, on my jointer. It's almost a 50-50. Yeah. That's a tough one. I can't, that having to change the knives on a thickness planer is such a bad experience that I would want it there, and yet I use my jointer more than I use my thickness planer, so I would want it there. So now you got to wrestle with that one, because I don't know what I would do. Now this is a real mess, and I don't know how I can get down through it, except what I might be able to do, I might be able to go in there and with a much lighter pass, that's a good sharp blade. So what I'm going to do is take what have I got, Jake? It's about 2 thou.
Well, you have 2 thou shim. Feeler gauge.
Where?
In the point.
No, that's just a shim. That's too small.
How's that too small?
That's too small. I don't want to go full thickness of a piece of paper. We'll use this. It's almost not enough, but now what I'm thinking is if I take a really, really light pass, I might be able to prevent that tear out.
Wait.
What?
Why aren't you going this way?
Because I want to see what's going to happen. It's going to tear.
That's too thick of a pass.
It's a lot thicker than I was expecting.
You ready for another question?
Yeah.
So Jack Lane, our good friend, wants to know, do you ever use spring joints when joining two boards?
Yeah, always. Well, on large boards, on large joints, typically not on small ones. For instance, when I made that dining table, okay, I'm going to bypass this for a minute. I want to get my length this way correct. Then I got to go in there and figure out how I'm going to fix that bottom. Yeah, so I went in and sprung the joint. What Jack talks about means is this. If you join two pieces of wood together to make a wider board, well, we have to use a piece of plywood and a piece of walnut. You join two pieces of wood together, what you want to prevent happening over time is you don't want the ends to open up like that. So if you put a slight hollow on both of these surfaces, and I say slight, I mean on this amount, you wouldn't more than a couple of thou. What happens now is as you clamp the board here, it's going to pull the ends tight. There'll be a little bit of forcing to close this, but not much. But it has a tendency to keep the ends tight. They call that a sprung joint. You have to do it, I do it by hand. Prepare the joint, the two edges on the jointer, and then go in with your thickness planer and just play around with it. And the way I did it, I was hold the first board, set the second board on top of it, and just wiggle it slightly. And if it pivots in the middle, then you know you're not sprung. And you just keep doing that until it no longer pivots in the middle. And take a shim stock if you want, and you should clear in the middle, but as you get toward the ends, it tightens up. Bit of a knack to it. Well, I managed to put both these pieces on the same way. Meaning, now it just tore right there. It was going to change on me.
So we have Francis Charbonneau from Montreal,
Hey, Francis.
and they want to know if it's still possible, do you think, to own a business making fine furniture by hand. It's a young woodworker and looking to start a workshop.
Is it possible to run a business
Making fine furniture.
making fine furniture by hand? Well, I can only speak from experience, to which I say no. I don't think it's possible to make a living building fine furniture with power tools. I'll tell you the reason why. The only people who can appreciate wood are watching tonight. They're called hobbyists, woodworkers. The general population, by and large, does not know boards come from trees. They stopped teaching stuff like that 40 years ago when they removed shop glass. So you've got an audience that doesn't really care about the material. Well, they care in the sense that they want the color and the grain, but they'll call anything grain. And these are the people that you're expecting to pay you extra money. I say extra, meaning over and above what they'd pay at a department store or furniture store. Pay you extra money to build things with solid wood, dovetails, traditional joinery. That, my friend, is not going to happen. Now, I don't want to be the one to rain on your parade, but you'll find out when you attempt to do it that the market is not there.
Shouldn't you copy this one the same as the other side? Or
Yeah,
is it already there?
that's what it was. Now, I'm talking to you from Grand Bay, New Brunswick, which is certainly not a metropolis of by any stretch. But I have a very good friend in the Toronto area that did it right, meaning he shared his shop with another craftsman. So although they weren't connected business-wise, they cut their costs of using a shop in half because they shared everything. And they always had somebody there to help if they needed a hand. And after 20 some odd years of doing that, and this man designed and built fabulous furniture, he gave it up. He said, I was tired of working my butt off all year just to pay my bills with nothing extra to show for it. He took a job maintaining the equipment at a school that teaches woodworking, and does a little bit of it on the side, but not much, not in comparison. So take that for what it's worth, but I wouldn't advise anybody that they should do it.
I'd rather build something by hand than put a piece of IKEA furniture together, though. It's almost easier.
You speak from experience, Rick?
Yes. My wife puts together all the IKEA stuff. She actually enjoys it, which is weird. I got another question from Brian Tyler. He said, would the larger router plane be a better tool for this job, or can you use would the larger router plane be a better tool for this job so you can micro adjust the depth of cut?
No, it's just dainty enough that I need something small to get in there. I don't think there's any advantage to using a large one. It's nice to be able to see, and that small one is my favorite. It's just...
I actually think the throat's too large on that large one to even work this kind of a surface.
What was the name of the chap from Quebec? Brian? No, Francis. Here's the deceptive part. You have friends and family that are going to support you in the initial phase, and you kind of get a bit of a head fake thinking, oh, look, I got all this work. Well, that doesn't last very long. And then you're actually having to find customers that don't know you, that are just simply interested in having good furniture made. Now, that's not to say there aren't some people out there, but they're not enough to earn a living with.
Got another one. This one comes from Anthony B. He says, besides the obvious that they're different sizes, are there massive practical advantages to owning both router plane sizes, or could you get by with the larger small one alone?
Of course, it depends on how much woodwork you're going to do, because you're always going to find applications for both. It's one of those tools where once you use it and you realize how versatile it is and how precise, and then the more you do, the more you realize, wow, I could really do that job better with this. And they don't really cross.
They're kind of like...
Yeah, it's like saying a quarter-inch chisel and a three-quarter-inch chisel. If I was only going to get one, which one? Well, you can't really just have one, because the first problem is a three-quarter cannot get into small places that a quarter can, but you don't really want to be using a quarter in an area where you can only have to move your three-quarter twice. You're going to have to move this one 5, 6, 7 times. for instance, cutting dovetails. So as you're chopping along the line, every time, it's fine right here, because I would set my chisel there, chop once, and move it once. I'd expect to have to do that. But if I was making a cut between pins, and it was going to be from, of course the pencil breaks when I pick it up, from here to here, and I've got to chop all along this line, moving that chisel multiple times along there just invites opportunity to screw up. So that's where you're going to want a wider one. So no, I'd say start out with this one, but it won't be long before you'll be wanting to buy the other one, just because it is so versatile and accurate. I think I might have a... What's up, Frick? You're typing like a madman.
They want to know what ice cream I'm eating.
Open your mouth and show them. So, for those of you who like me, perhaps don't eat dairy or sugar, Frick's wife, my daughter, is forever finding recipes that I can eat. And she bought an ice cream maker a month or so ago, and she found this recipe for ice cream. Oh my. It is
Expensive.
expensive. The part that makes it taste so good is knowing that Frick paid for the ingredients. But it is delicious. She's made chocolate chip cookie dough. Now she uses cocoa with no sugar. And the other one is chocolate. It's just, first time I had it, I thought there's no way this can be healthy. But it is.
It's like
The fat-free frozen yogurt.
yeah, from Seinfeld. There's no fat.
All right, now let's see what's going on here. So we're touching. We got lots of clearance, but we've got to get rid of some of this on the top. And you notice it's not closing right.
At the same
Yeah,
time.
at the same time. So that's going to be a bit of a challenge. Keep coming with the questions, Rick.
Got one. So this comes from Sam Butler. He's from Canberra, Australia. And he says, can you show an example of what happens if your plane blade sharpening is not precise and the heel is accidentally sharpened higher than 45 degrees?
Jake pulls that stunt on me every once in a while. What happens is your plane will misbehave, and you'll be trying to figure out what is wrong with this thing. It'll start into the wood, but then it comes out. In other words, you only get a shaving at the beginning. And you adjust your blade, and it'll continue to do that. But what's happening is your blade, your cutting edge is sitting below. Your cutting edge is sitting below the surface of your plane, so it's going to engage the wood. But because the bevel is essentially negative, as it cuts into the wood, the heel is making it cause to rise up, and it eventually comes out. If you're wondering how to find out, the easiest way to do it is to take something that has a 45 degree, like a combination square, set that on your piece of wood, take your blade.
Right there.
Where?
There.
Take your blade, put it on there. I don't want to do that on this. Put your blade on a 45 on that, and then just push. And if it doesn't engage, then you know you've got a problem. But if it engages, then you're good. That's not your problem. You'll be able to tell from that. If it just slides over and won't bite into the wood, then that's you've managed to put a bevel on there somewhere that's exceeded 45. Okay, so I want to make sure that I'm not
Okay, so we have a question from Salvio, and he says, what of your saw do you think is better for general purpose between the joinery crosscut and the bench crosscut, and why? Thinking about buying one of them, and he's from Italy.
Italy. Well, if you watch me, I don't even have my bench crosscut on here right now because I sold it. And why did I sell it? Do you remember?
Because it was a regular handle and you
Oh,
wanted that.
yeah, I'm making a new one. I use my joinery crosscut. That's what I would buy first. My bench crosscut would be number 5. So dovetail saw first, joinery crosscut second, medium tenon third, fourth. That's right. Bench crosscut fourth, and the full size tenon 5. In that order. Can't go wrong. Okay, so what I'm going to do, when I come over here, Jake, so here's what I got to fix. You see this? See the gap? So I've got to take some material off of here. And when I take material off of here, it's going to raise this, right? Because this is sloped. As we take material off of here, this surface is going to go up. So rather than take material off of here to get that to fit, I'm going to do that first. I just got to have some idea. Now, the good news is that we're going to set this in beyond. That's another advantage. If you decided to make this perfectly flush, you'd have a real problem to deal with. But if you set it back in, say 1/16 of an inch, you can hide a little discrepancy like that. So we need to take, this is hard to hold on to. We need to plane in this direction. Actually, I might be able to squeeze it between the bench stocks, just like that. Keep them coming, Frick. Oh, I didn't even, yes, I assume somebody told you how to donate. If you want to support the Purple Heart Project, do one of two things. Tell everybody you know so that the people who need it will find out about it. And the other thing is you can support it financially if you so desire. And on our webpage, RobCosman.com, we have a section for donations where we don't lose anything as a result of fees, except for the credit card. Now, this is the one I'm taking off, right? Yes. So what I'm going to do, I want to come in here. Where's my plane wax, Jake? I'm going to come here and then go around the corner. And then I'll just keep backing up. How's our audience tonight, Frick?
We're at 780, which is a lot better than last time.
You know what? Seems like every time I pick up a plane, it's in need of sharpening. But it's a 30-second procedure, so no biggie. Set that blade down on the primary bevel.
Do we want
Elevate
to bring
slightly.
Super Dave on a little sooner than 8?
Whenever.
What do you think?
Why? What are you thinking?
Manoli's coming at 8:30.
You think there's going to be competition between the two?
No, I'm thinking instead of 8 o'clock, 10 minutes, and then go back to work for 20. I'm thinking if we did it.
Well, we want Super Dave to have as big an audience as possible.
We're at 800 now. That's pretty big.
That's pretty good.
What time is it?
Quarter to 8.
Is he ready?
His makeup's not done, but we
Well,
don't have
they're going to be on that for a while.
Especially the hair part.
Plugs?
Let me see if I can get him here.
You tell me when he's ready and I'll stop. We have some new products coming that you're going to get excited about. I'm going to talk about one of them. So, when they make maple syrup, they boil it. I'm just going to set up my plane. They boil it until the sugar content, moisture content is right for syrup. But if you continue to boil it and take out more and more moisture, you can eventually get to a point where, what are we doing? No, I'm okay, because it's not up yet. They get what's called butter, maple butter. And this is just a creamy, I salivate thinking about it. So the same guys that make the maple syrup have maple butter. So we've brought it in, and it'll go on the site when, Jake? Shortly. So what I'm going to promise you is this. If you like the maple syrup, when you try the maple butter, you will, you'll giggle like a little schoolgirl. I can just hear Dave doing it now. All right, so here, turn, and go. Come back a little farther. Now, you want to keep the blade, you want to keep the shaving on that side of the blade so that as I turn like this, I get the entire width of the board. And then I don't get any torn grain right there. I'm going to start back here. So I'm on the right side of the blade. And as I get right to the point where my blade is now right here, then I can swing that around. And I'm about 1/8 of an inch away from this side, the corner that is. Oh, by the way, today's my 35th anniversary, so a happy anniversary to my beautiful wife. Super Dave's here and ready? I can hardly wait to hear his story. So let me tell you real quick. Here, Jake, over here. Twins from different mothers. Super Dave is the fit one on the left, and Luther's on the right. Super Dave, actually, I'll let him tell the whole story, but he came to our workshop 3 years ago. Oh, there he is. Is there a delay? Because he's not smiling. There he is.
Just a second. We don't
Can't
have
hear
any.
anything.
He can't. I can hear you. So is he? Can they see him yet?
I'll bring him in right now. Let's just do a fade here. There we go.
So, Soup, can you hear me?
You guys hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me? Can you hear me now?
Hold on. This thing's being special.
He can't hear.
anything.
He can't hear.
You can't?
No. You
Oh,
gonna,
there, I hear you now.
are you there?
Yep, I hear you now.
But I don't know what happened, but so tell them the story. Don't forget the part about being in the ditch, naked and alone.
So there I was, curled up in a ditch. So what do you want? Oh, about how I found the program and stuff?
Yeah, give them the whole thing.
Okay. Well, I was in the Navy for 5-6 years, and then I was in the Army for 10. or 12. And I got hurt in Afghanistan. So I was always into like woodworking and stuff. And when I started using power tools, I get migraines real bad. So I, like everybody, got on the internet and researched like hand tool woodworking. And Rob's name came up with like how to restore hand planes or something like that.
So let me interrupt you. I don't want to be too personal, but can you tell them a little more about the nature of your injury so they'll understand about the headache bit?
Oh, yeah, I took some shrapnel from RPG to my head, and then I had a couple other pretty big TBIs. I'm pretty sure that's what seemed like it started it.
Now,
So
explain what a TBI is, because there'd be some people that don't know.
traumatic brain injury. I took a couple pretty good blasts to the head on top of getting some shrapnel in there. And I think that's probably what did it. So,
Tell them about shaving.
oh yeah, for a while I would shave, and you get little slivers would come out. And I'm like, well, there goes another razor blade. So, but yeah, so I had a hard time. I still get migraines fairly often, but it is what it is. So I so I looked online and stuff, hand tool woodworking, and I think I bought a super nice plane from Lowe's. I think they're top of the line. They're like Blue Hawk or something like that. I don't even know if they make them anymore. They're so good. But I got it. And,
What you pay for it?
oh, it's like $35, but I probably had a coupon.
Yeah.
They match Harbor Freight. So, I brought it home. I took it out of the package, started hand planing. It was miserable. Took off big chunks. So I got on the internet and emailed Rob. I kind of explained my situation a little bit, and I asked Rob what I should do, and so he wrote back. He's like, "Well, if you have a trash can, you should throw it in there." Well, as soon as I read that, I automatically got all fired up because I'm like, "Who's this guy think he is?" But he had gone on to tell me about the Purple Heart Project and stuff, and I applied and got in. It was, I think, what was that, 2017-ish?
Yeah.
And that was back when it was in Niagara Falls, so it was like a 4-hour drive. So I went there. Rob talks about if there's like 14 or 15 people in the class, 13 or 12 or 13 will have perfect dovetails. I was that 14th person, possibly. They weren't quite perfect. They went together. It's a big hammer. And, I had a great time. It was a blast. It was awesome being with, some other vets like Jeremy and Mark. And then, I was kind of done and when, we went about our, separate ways. And I don't know if my wife was just trying to get rid of me for the week or what, but she said, well, why don't you email Rob and see if he needs a hand with his next class? And I didn't want to tell her I was a star student and that of course he would want my help. But I was like, well, he's not going to want my help, but she'll just, nag and nag on me until I do it. So I hope she's not watching. So I emailed him. I was like, hey, Rob, if you need a hand, I'm not doing anything. And then I was surprised, like a couple minutes later, he's like, oh, yeah, sure. I was like, oh, great. And so came up, went over there for the week and helped. And then it's kind of been the same, this has been that's how it's worked out. So.
How many of you? So now now that you're a regular, how many have you been to?
Has it been 8 now?
So tell us a success story that you've seen, you've seen since you've been back helping.
Well, I mean, it's just an amazing it's an amazing process. You get guys that are withdrawn, quiet. On the first day, everybody's kind of at their bench, and nobody's really talking. It's kind of quiet, and people are listening to Rob. And then, within the next, a day or two later, that connection's been made. I know for me, it was really, when you're in the military, you miss birthdays, you miss anniversaries, you miss all these important events. And they kind of tell you, how important you are, and that's why you miss all these things. Well, then when you get out, the Army doesn't even, miss a step. It's like you were never there. And I think, to have that camaraderie back, and that's kind of what the class does. And it's just an amazing experience. Really glad to be a part of it.
Okay, now, in case you wouldn't know this, but the reason we found Kevin Burris is because Dave knew Kevin and convinced him to come. And if you've read Kevin's story, that probably saved Kevin's life. So, Soup, now I need you to direct your comments to the vet that might be watching this, or to somebody who knows a vet that's suffering, and tell them how important it is that they step up.
If you're a vet and you're looking at this and you're thinking like, well, I don't deserve this, or, I wasn't wounded bad enough, or any of that, don't worry about it. Put it in an application and, see where your chips fall. I think we judge ourselves enough. So don't worry about that. Just put the application in and try it. And if you're a civilian and know a veteran, give them the web address, and tell them to fill out an application. It's a great time. It's great food. You learn how to do some woodworking. You get some tools. Now you get a bench where you can really go home and sharpen your skills. So if you're thinking about it, just do it and see where the chips fall.
All right, now in closing, those people who have been watching all along know that there's a special connection between you and someone named Felix.
Oh, yes. Danny Bell.
So you're the one that's going to have to tell that story.
Oh, yes. So there we were, going down to Tennessee to help Danny Bell out, to go to his new wood store. And he puts Jake and I in the same room.
Same bed.
Same bed. Jake was the little spoon, but also in that bedroom, what we weren't told about was Felix's kitty litter box. And they moved out his kitty litter box when we moved in. So Felix the cat was not too happy with the people that were now occupying his room. So I had my ruck on the floor.
Now, wait a minute. There's a lot of non-military people, so what's a ruck?
I had my bag where his cat litter thing must have been, and we're laying there in bed, and it's dark, and I hear this like crinkle, 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 and I'm like, I look over to Jake, and I'm like, Jake, wouldn't it be funny if the cat was peeing on my bag? And then I thought about it for a couple seconds, and I was like, I bet the cat's peeing on my bag. So I jump up, and sure enough, it had peed all over my bag, all over my clothes. Yeah. So I've been training Mr. Tinklesworth, and the next time we come down, I'm bringing him with. Felix is going to have a fight on his hands. Just a warning, Danny. Just a warning. Mr. Tinklesworth is coming for you. I don't see him around, but he's here somewhere.
Probably out lifting weights.
Yeah, getting swole.
Thank you, Soup. You want to say hello to your mother?
Oh, yeah, hi, Mom. I'm sure she's on.
She's always on.
Oh, yeah.
Thanks, Soup. I can't wait to get you back here.
Yes.
Got a thickness planer with your name on it. Got a thickness planer and a drill press with your name on it. We got to get sent.
I'm pretty sure Jake just likes to hear about how I have to get these things out of the back of my truck by myself. Mm-hmm. That's where it is.
All right. Appreciate it. Thank you for doing this.
See you soon. Everybody have a good one.
All right.
Bye.
You wouldn't have wanted to be there, but had you been, that story would have been even funnier. And I'm sure Danny, if Danny's on, he's busting a gut right about now. All right, check that. Is Jeff on?
Give me a second.
Now I'm hoping that shoot, that's still. I got clearance there. I don't have clearance right here in the middle.
Sorry, I had a question.
What?
So, my camera's supposed to. So this comes from Lacey Nagy.
Lacey? Where's Lacey?
It doesn't say. But the question is, how do you attach drawer dividers to a solid wood carcass to allow for cross grain construction?
Okay. Say, let me think. Read that to me again, please. How do you attach?
How do you attach drawer dividers to a solid wood carcass to allow for cross grain construction?
Okay. So if you're going to, so what she's asking is this: is she
I don't know.
Lacey?
LACI. So I don't know.
Okay. So here's your chest of drawers. If the side is solid wood, what do you do with your dividers so that you have even movement? If you can, what you could do is just use solid wood dividers, and your dividers, if the grain would be running top to bottom here, your grain would be running across this way, and that's going to expand and contract at the same rate that this does. The only downside to that is if you have solid wood dividers between each one, that adds a ton of weight to the weight of the cabinet. Best way to do it, but it makes it really heavy. And that actually has two advantages. That has advantages and disadvantages. The advantage is if your kids pull all the drawers out at the same time, if the case is that heavy, it may not tip. The disadvantage is for the poor sucker who has to move it the next time you move. What a lot of people would want to do is they would want to make what's called a drawer frame. And on a drawer frame, you'd have, this would be long grain running across here because you'd want to be looking at long grain, not in grain. But then there would be, this part of the frame would be running opposite of this. The piece at the back of the frame would be running the same as the piece at the front. But when you build that frame typically is not going to move. So there's a couple of things that you can do. The first is that this solid piece that goes here is going to be secured, whether it's doweled, through wedge tenon, or just a tenon that doesn't go all the way through. So this piece right here is secure. Now, you're going to have a dado cut in the side that's going to run front to back. You're not going to see it here, however, and you probably don't want to see it at the very back either. And if we'll call this the rail, then the stile, which is going to be the long pieces of the frame, those are going to sit in that dado, but they're not going to be glued. And because they're not going to be glued, they're going to be glued where that stile comes into this rail. You usually have a mortise and tenon there. That's going to be made fast. That's going to be glued. But the side or the edge of that stile is not going to be glued in that dado. It's just going to fit in there snugly. That allows for movement. At the back, you're going to attach this rail the same way you did the front, whether it be doweled or through wedge tenon, whatever. So then what you do is where this stile is attached to that back rail, that'd be a dry fit. You don't glue it. So if it's going to be a mortise and tenon, it's put together, but it is not dried. And you allow for a gap meaning as the cabinet expands this way, this part is going to come out. Well, it's not going to come out, but the distance between the front and the back is going to open up. The stile that is glued and fastened is going to stay attached to this. At the back, it's going to pull out a little bit, but if you've got a tenon that is that long, you're only talking about 1/8 of an inch of movement. That's going to come out of that. The mortise is going to come. The tenon is going to come out of the mortise a little bit, but it'll still stay attached. You still have that stile sitting in the dado, so everything is going to be nice and secure. That's probably the easiest way to do it. The other way you can do it is that you can simply screw these stiles into the side, sitting in a dado, yes, but screw them into the side and either have over large diameter holes in the stile itself with a washer on it so that it holds it tight, but it allows for a little bit of movement. So you want to keep it fast. You're going to glue it so it's secure here and allow all the movement to take place at the very back. You know, when I was first starting to build furniture, there's not a lot of information written about that in drawer construction. Very, very little. I had to invent a few things, or maybe I read it from somewhere and applied it, but there's not a ton of information. We should probably, Luther, we should do a video series or a video on that case construction, because I find that's one area that's lacking in terms of information for beginners. Good question, Lacey. If I want to know if there's any comments from one Danny Bell. All right, see if we can get this thing to go in.
You said Felix is ready.
He did? So the gauntlet has been thrown down. Wow, I don't want to miss that. Felix is ready. Yeah, I'm just going to sight down here and see if there's a bit of a bulge in that. I really don't want to take any material off of there. This has got to be waxed. Okay. So we'll get this to fit a little bit better, and then what we'll do is we can take a little bit off of the front. We can take a little bit off the front. That'll help in hiding and disguising that.
I have to correct my pronunciation of Lacey. It's actually pronounced Lotzi.
Way to go, Frick. You were a school teacher, right?
Well, it's spelled L-A-C-I, so it's a fair mistake. And Super Dave and Danny are sending cat pictures to each other right now.
Can we get in on that?
Do you recommend a number 7 or 8 as the joiner plane? That comes from Asan Barakati.
Oh, you're really challenging yourself on the names tonight.
Well, we got a worldwide audience tonight. It's great.
Well, here they are. There's your number 8. Characteristics are it's 24 inches long. The blade is 2 5/8 of an inch wide. The number 7 is 22 inches long. So that much of a difference? No. But the blade is 2 3/8. So if you're thinking convenience, if you had as part of your arsenal, or your arsenal was a 4.5, 5.5, and the 7, you could even throw in the 6, they all use the same parts. Everything's interchangeable. Knob, rear tote, frog, blade, chip breaker, parts are all the same. This is an orphan. The only plane that ever used a 2 5/8 was the number 8. So if you're going to have a high angle blade, it's convenient to have one that you can use in any of those planes whenever you need it. So that's a reason. Now, I use my 8 a lot. I've had it for a long time. I like it. It's heavy. It weighs over 10 pounds. I suppose it's like buying a jointer, a power jointer. The longer the bed, the more accurate it's going to be. So even though this is only 2 inches longer, it is a little more accurate, but I don't know if it justifies the price. Only because I've used it this long, I would keep my number 8 over my number 7. If I was going out looking for a first plane, or if I was just collecting planes, I would probably lean more towards the 7 because it's a little more affordable. And as I mentioned, all the other blades, everything's interchangeable. I don't know if that suits, but that's what I'm going to offer you. I don't think I know Dave's cat. Now what I'm doing
He has
is
several.
he does?
He's a cat person.
Yeah. I'm not being as chatty as I normally would be because I'm having to really reach down in order to speak. Okay, I still got a little bit of torn grain right there, so that's what I'm attempting to do to get rid of it. Not quite. Now, I want this to be square, so I'm going to plane this way, just so that the plane is resting on here, so that's preventing it from tipping, and that will allow me to square that piece up. And if you could see from my perspective, I didn't quite have a full width shaving. Now that I do, I can come in here, come on, do the same thing. When you get here, spin around. Okay. What's the time?
8:15.
Has the front door open for Manoli? Oh, you better contact him and tell him he can't. Yeah, but he can't come in the parking lot because they're painting it. Okay. So that is just a little bit snug. So what I need is to get my feeler gauge and try to find out where that problem is. I think it's still right here.
Don't you want your half though?
Well, I'm going to use 1.5 thou. No, I mean it's a little snug right there, but not bad.
Not if 1.5 thou can fit through.
I don't think it's, that's not very deep at all, so I think I'm more than clearing it here. I still got to go in there and figure out how I'm going to clean that up. No more questions, Frick?
No.
You want to go in the ones that were submitted and see if there's some there? Okay, so I got to get in along that side and see if it's tight there.
Frick, did you get that picture from Megan?
From Megan?
Yeah.
So this is a 1 thou shim. And what I'll do
Oh, wait, yeah.
is see if I can run that in there. So that's not tight. Yeah, that's not tight at all.
Why don't you just burnish it?
Well, because I just
Hadn't thought about it?
it just doesn't move as easy as.
I think you have to dress that top center.
Huh? Yeah, I know, but
definitely
I'm
scratching.
bottoming out somewhere, and I don't think I shouldn't be bottoming out right here.
Look right here.
Hmm. Hey. Hey, Rex. Manoli's at the back door. Yeah, go let him in, please.
So just for entertainment value here, I have the two cats up on the screen, Felix and Mr. Tinklesworth.
Are we placing wagers?
Well, I think we should place a vote based on these two pictures. Who would win? We have Felix on the left and Mr. Tinklesworth on the right. So please let us know in the chat who you think would win.
We have fallen. Okay, so I want 7/16. So if we come over here. Oh yeah, so I gotta take a little more off of there.
I got a question too when you're ready.
Yep, go ahead.
So this comes from our good friend Abraham Pinsky.
Abraham is over in Israel?
Israel, yeah.
Yeah. Hey,
And
brother.
He said, what modifications, if any, would you make to a workbench that has to go up against a wall or in a corner and won't be accessible from all sides?
Well, I really wouldn't make any modifications because typically, I never work on the back side of my bench. So if this was up against the wall, other than the fact that my lamp wouldn't move, it wouldn't make much difference. And our other bench, the Cosman bench, you could easily put that up against the wall. We tend to have them side to side, or we run two benches so that the
Back to
long
back.
sides are touching, and it's not an issue. So I got to come in here and take another 1/16 of an inch off. Not a 1/16, but. What's funny?
This chat about the cats.
So is this this is Army versus Army, right? Danny's
Yeah.
Army.
I think Tinklesworth has the slight edge, but it's pretty close. Did I mention Pete Ambrose was here as well?
Hey, Pete, no, you didn't. But I felt him.
Felt his presence.
I can only imagine how hot it is down there in Mississippi.
Yeah. Mississippi.
You can hear Manoli warming up. I would love to be able to get rid of that torn, and I haven't quite figured out how. Has artist chimed in? Dave's mom?
No, doesn't look like it. Abraham Pinsky, he said thank you, and he's also the proud owner of the new Magic Wax and the plane adjustment drivers. So we wanted to thank you for that as well.
Oh, you're welcome. Glad it made it to you. If you've placed orders in the past month or 2 or 3, you may notice that the postal service has been Newman fast.
Gina's here with us tonight too.
Ah, Gina. So Gina's the proud owner of a new shipping room. All the luxuries of home. We'll have it in tip-top shape. So next time we'll give you a little tour of it. We had to expand our shipping room with 3 times. 3 times what it was.
It's all that maple syrup.
Yes, there's a ton of maple syrup. Okay, so something I just realized is we've got a little bit of a tweak somewhere. See, if I push that down firmly like that, then that sets in there the way it should. Now I still want that to go in a little bit deeper, but I don't know whether there's a little bit of twist was it a little twist in the drawer or in the case? I think it's in the case. But we still want to take that in. I'm going to suggest we want to go in almost at least another 30 seconds. I got to do that again. How's our time, Frick?
It's 8:25.
Okay.
And we have 916 viewers.
Do I want to go with 16th, Jake? Uh-huh.
I would.
All right. You wrecking the place, Frick?
Nope, just setting up. Doing my job.
What are you setting on the top of that standing desk?
A wet cup.
His urn. No, I want to show them. Mine will give them an update on the standing desk. Who's snapping their fingers? If it's me, I can't. And it's coming.
What is that white spot right there?
It's just a little knot. It's where the grain change direction too. Now, if you're wondering why I'm not setting that chisel right in that scribe line, doing all those little preliminary chops first, you don't want that extra pressure on the bevel driving the chisel back. Or in this case, forward and leaving a mark up in here. And this pine is such a wonderful wood to work, but it is so fragile. Okay. That should give us okay, so here's the issue we have. When it closes, because of, I'm gonna find out right now, and I don't think it's in the drawer. So that is 16 and 15 sixteenths, and that is 16 and 15 sixteenths. So we got a little bit of a tweak in the case. And because of that, when we close it, it's pulling tight on this side before it goes to that, gets tight on that side.
Question time.
Yeah.
This comes from Robert Edge. He says, Rob, how do you sharpen, set up, and get the correct blade angle on a large scraping plane for difficult grained timber?
Okay, hold that thought for 1 second. So get from my perspective, oh, here. That's what I want to see. See that little reveal? That's just perfect. Now, but you look over here, we don't have that same amount. So, our option is to take a little bit off of the drawer front.
Which I would recommend.
That's the one that would be easiest to disguise, because you're never going to be seeing the end lap and the end there, here and there at the same time. So you'd never notice that, hey, this one's a little bit smaller.
And
we've already taken material off of here.
there's a ding to remove.
Well, it's pine. It's going to end up with dings.
Well, I know, but let's not.
Okay, is
ding.
Manoli ready? Okay, so yeah, have him come in. So, shoot. I really want to find out where that friction is right there at the end.
Well, you can see where the mark is.
Where are you thinking? Right
It's
there?
right there. You can see it. Well, did you check for burnish marks?
Well, there's something running right there. I'll Hey, brother. Who'd you bring with you?
This is Dimitri Papadopoulos.
Hey, Dimitri. Thought you're... So, Manoli, if you've been on our online workshop before, not online workshop, YouTube, you know who Manoli is. He's a lifelong friend of mine, grew up with my brother, very accomplished musician, self-taught. He's recently been professionally recording some music. This is the guitar that Paul Rigney of the East Tennessee Luthiers Guild built for us. He and his guild donated it. It's up for auction. And if you're interested, just put it in the comment section and we'll contact you. Manoli's doing some original work. He's going to give us one now and one near the end. So, brother, you want to take it over?
Hot day here in Grand Bay today. A little heat stroke. I'm just playing through some really common chords because this guitar sounds just like an organ. Here's a song I wrote. She was walking through the desert in her high heels, feeling homesick with the blues, waiting for a train to come and take her away. She is so confused. Well, I was drinking whiskey down at Bayshore Beach. I was feeling good beside the fire. She was standing out beside the ocean, and the moon hung there crying, oh, denim queen. Yesterday don't matter if we're wrong. It'll get much better if you just let go of the feelings that let you down. Well, I was drinking whiskey down at Bayshore Beach. I was feeling good beside the fire. Oh, she was standing sad beside the ocean, in a moon that hung there crying, oh, denim queen. Yesterday don't matter if you're wrong. It'll get much better if you just let go of the feeling. If you just let go of the feeling. If you just let go of the feeling. Ooh, let you down, dear child. Oh, take the money and run. Go on, yeah. Try to get little pieces of other songs out of there to steal most of my riff. Thank you. Nice guitar, man. Thank you, Paul.
That's great, Manoli. You'll
Thank you,
stick
brother.
around, get one at the end?
Sure.
Beautiful.
The other side hanging out.
All right.
Beautiful day in Grand Bay.
Have a tomato.
Thank
See
you
my
very
tomato
much.
plant out there?
Yes, I did see those.
Save me some.
I'll save you some.
Thank you. All right, I need to put an edge on this. If you're going to work pine, it has to be spot on. Ten seconds on the 1000. Get that burr. 10 seconds. 16. Comments, Frick? That was the 3 seconds on either corner. Tell me what you think of Manoli and his Paul Rigney guitar.
I enjoyed it.
All right, let's put this back together. That blade is about a 32nd of an inch away from the edge. Make sure you tighten that well. Now, bring that blade out. What?
Dave goes, that must be the world's best non-spraying cup that you have next to your stone.
Non-spray cup.
Cup doesn't spray.
Get that. All right, now I got to take a little bit off of this bottom corner. Wax. So I've got a new apron that I hope will be ready next time we shoot. And I've got, it's going to have patches from several police, some vets that weren't part of our class, but sent me their patch. We were honored them by putting it on. It'll be our intern apron until we run another class. I think the only problem is right out here in the end, so I'm not worrying too much about supporting this part of the drawer. Questions, Frick? Hmm?
Nope.
Okay, that's still.
Did you didn't answer the last one, did you?
Oh, no, I didn't. Go read that again, please. I got.
How do you, again, it's from Robert Edge. He says, how do you sharpen, set up, and get the correct blade angle on a large scraping plane for difficult grain timber?
On the large scraping plane. So this is the large scraping plane. This is patterned after the Stanley number 112. How do I know that? Because it says right there, 112. So that's a big blade. I think that's almost 3 inches wide, not quite.
3/4?
2 7/8. So you can do this one.
What would Luther have guessed that to be?
Oh, yeah, 1/4 inch.
6 meters.
Anywhere in between. So you can, this one, if you grind it at the angle that it comes at, it's almost too steep and it's very difficult to work. It wants to vibrate. So I ground mine back probably about 45 degrees. And then I sharpen this up just like I would any plane blade. So you've got your secondary and tertiary out here and you got your back bevel on there. You can put a burr on, but you don't have to. You can work it like that. Now, the nice thing about this plane is that the pivot point is behind the blade. So here's your pivot point, your blade's sitting in front of it. So as you move this, tip this forward, the blade is actually going to lower. So start somewhere. It's just for the sake of it, put the two adjuster knobs in the halfway point. Now you gotta loosen one in order to advance the other. So this one I'm going to turn that way. This one This one, I'm doing them both the same way. What am I saying? Because if you spin this way, they're both going to move that direction, and that's going to allow you to move this forward, or the opposite's going to pull it back. So I would put the blade down in there on a nice flat surface, maybe even a piece of MDF. Set that on. Carefully put that blade down in place. Snug that up, and then go to your piece of wood that you're working with and start planing. And if it's not biting, then what you're going to do is you're going to move this forward. So to move it forward, you're going to turn, as you stand there and look at it, in a clockwise rotation. And that, I'm sorry, I just said that wrong. No, you're going to go in counterclockwise rotation. You're going to tip, by tipping it this way, you're going to actually drop the blade lower than it currently is. And you just keep doing that until you get to a point where you're getting the shaving that you want. If you want to make it more aggressive, then put a burr on it. You can actually use the back of your chisel. I'll do it, show you. Put your blade in the vise. The chisel that you've already polished up, and the chisel steel is going to be harder than the blade steel. And then I'm going to actually bring it up a little bit higher. So there's no burr on there right now, but I would take that and just run it forward and back. Careful, don't cut yourself. You can oil it if you want. It'll just make it a little easier to remove. Keep doing that until you get a bit of a burr on the back side. I got to get a little bit of oil on there. Is that honing oil still sitting there, Jake?
Right there. No, the little dabber. This is Luther's favorite camellia.
Did we still have that video up?
Yeah.
It's a hit. Now I'm looking at this, and that should get it. That's just going to make it move a little easier. And now I can pick up a bit of a burr. Here, my fingernail catch it. And depending on how aggressive you want it, determines how much. But you don't want to put too much burr on there, because then you end up rolling it around too far. And you roll it around too far, it's not actually going to bite. Think of that little curl coming around like this. You end up hitting the bottom of it instead of getting the sharp edge. Well, someday we'll have to do a session on scrapers. Not my go-to, but if you're going to work exotic woods, you're going to have to know how to use one. I have two scraper planes. The 85. Now this was, the nice thing about this, the blade goes all the way to either side, so you can work right up against a vertical wall. And it has tilting handles so that you're not busting your knuckles. You loosen both of these, and then you can move them to one side or the other. Lock them in place, and now your knuckles are not hitting that vertical surface that you're working up to. Don't forget that we do these sessions to raise money and awareness for our Purple Heart Project. You can go on there and donate on our homepage.
We're quite low on the donations tonight.
Are we?
We haven't broken the threshold for the first gift card.
We haven't even broken half that.
Really?
Also, yeah, we have.
Oh, we have now?
Yeah, we just did.
Okay.
Also, you should show the stuff that's being auctioned again.
Oh, yeah. So we have three items. We have the guitar. Manola, you'll see that again when he comes back. We have this Purple Heart resin impregnated, purple infused, maple handled dovetail saw. The guy that won this actually turned around and donated it back for the Purple Heart, which I thought was awesome of him. And we have Harold's, what do they call this? I apologize for not knowing. But if you put a little bit of wind on it, it spins like that. It's cool. It's made out of cedar, so it's safe to use outside. All right, so I'm sitting here looking at this, and I can see a dip in the bottom I've got to get rid of. I don't want to take it out of here. I want to take it out of there, which is probably smart just to get rid of some of that point. What?
I was just gonna say we should stop taking questions and focus on this,
Yeah.
so that we don't have an Angie's bed desk number.
Oh, you think they would complain about that? Now, I've got to go in there and make a cut along there. So what I'm going to use is something you haven't seen me use before. And that is my side rabbet plane. I have to remove a layer of dust. These don't get a lot of use. But when you need them, you need them. I don't have a clock in the walls anymore. I don't know where it went, so I don't have any idea of how our time is.
I thought you sold those.
Time is what, Frick?
10 minutes.
10-2?
We need a better system to do these auction bids, I think.
Yeah.
Why? Are they bid?
Unless you're ending the bids at the end of the episode, but we keep them going. So
What are their bids on?
bid on the wind chime.
Is there?
And there is on the guitar. None from tonight, but we know that there is a bid on the guitar. So I don't know if we can set up a page for that.
You can. The only problem is there has to be a time limit on it.
Yeah, exactly. And we're getting a couple suggestions that you should make Purple Heart hoodies for the winter time. And I think this design would look good on a hoodie, actually.
Okay. Now, looks like my grain is running this way, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to go in and use this little, this was Stanley number 9899.
You want the other one, don't you?
Huh? This was the 99.
Which way is the grain running?
Well, I'm thinking it's going to run this way, so I'm going to use the 98. So you could adjust the depth, the cut, by dropping this. That would allow you control the depth. And you advance the blade by loosening this, which would just bring that blade out a little bit farther and for a heavier cut. But there's multiple facets on there. It's kind of a difficult tool to sharpen. So I'm going to go in here. Did I get anything? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Now, oh, I took a lot. I'm going to pull that blade back in.
Put the drawer back in.
Do we know what the Purple Heart saw bid is up to?
It started at 11.
The owner of it donated back and started the bidding himself at 1100. Okay, so that took care of that.
Oh, there's not going to be anything up top.
No, there isn't. But it's tight somewhere. Maybe right there. Save him only 5 minutes.
Man,
What? Oh, you know what?
nothing.
Huh?
Look, there's
Where?
nothing on this side.
Yeah,
But do you see these marks here?
yeah. And I see that that's really burnished right there. So maybe that's it. I'll try coming in this way. little bit right here at the top. See, I can see the bottom. And that does not appear to be tight. That's really close, meaning I don't have to take a whole lot off. Shoot, if we just had 3 more hours. What you saying, Frick?
What?
What you saying?
Yeah, only. If only.
A little more right up here. Now, I'm gonna take a couple of passes. Shoot. Not quite. Look at that. Son of a gun. Just a bit too short.
Wait, couldn't you?
That'll do it. My thumb out of there. Blade's a little heavy on the left.
Still a little heavy on the left.
You think?
Not that pass.
Try that. Now we got to put. We forgot. I got to put that little lip on there. Go get him. So that looks good. If you look at the reveal here and the reveal there, it's the same. So that's all right. We got to soften all these corners a little bit. Put our little piece on here that'll hold our laptop, not a laptop, iPad so it doesn't fall. And then I'd say we're ready for a finish. I think I'm going to oil it. No, I'm going to spray it. I'm going to spray it with lacquer. Now I'm just looking to see if there's any burnishing. You know what I didn't look is...
In the groove?
I wonder if that's where it's jamming. Oh, that would be embarrassing to have it be in there. And that may, I tend to think that's where it might be. That would only make sense, right? That was the last part we did.
We're up to 1,200 now for the saw.
1,200?
Yeah, and 75 for the wood chime.
How are our numbers?
1,053.
Better audience. So, brother, what do you got to play? What are you going to end the night on?
Well,
Tell me a good story about the song you're going to play.
well, the song we're doing here is an original song, and I love to play other people's music. And I've played it for a long time, and I said, well, I have to learn how to write some songs. So this is one of the first songs I wrote when I was about 19, 20 years old. And I rewrote it recently here in the studio with a fella named Paul Milner, who's worked with people like Keith Richards and has worked on albums, Operation Mind Crime, I believe it is. I don't know, some metal stuff as well. And then the studio. So here's a song. I rewrote it. I'm a little heat stroke today, I'll be honest with you, brother. I don't know what the weather is like there and where everybody's at, but it's a beautiful day here. And the sun just went down, and I think it's almost 9 o'clock. Here's a song about miscommunication, I guess. I remember when you left me torn, when I died in your smile, you laughed with bitter scorn. You kept me a prisoner with pleasure and fear. We both can do better, maybe that's why I'm here. I swallow my pride to hide my pain. Sometimes I prefer to drink alone, get my head off stone till I'm gone. Things will change now, they will change like the wind and rain that make us strong. So if I'm no fun, why'd you call me? You said I never have money, and honey, we always fight. I bit my tongue, said I'm sorry. You think we could talk it over here tonight? I swallow my pride to hide my pain. Sometimes I prefer to drink alone, get my head off stone till I'm gone. Things will change, yes, they will change. Why should they stay the same and just go on? Well, I know you are bitter. Now I'm doing fine. And when you feel better, call me next time. But your love has been hanging me out to dry, and I'm feeling used. And so are you. La, la, la. It's a nice guitar. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
I'll be back 2 weeks.
Anytime.
To hang around a bit. All right, we got to give away one prize.
We made 1,000. So
Oh,
we can,
good. So
give
it's
me
legit.
Give me a second though.
What are you doing?
Just getting the names.
Okay. So we're gonna give away we're gonna close out the bid on the saw tonight. We're gonna close out the bid on the whirly swirly. I don't know. Sorry, Harold, I don't know the name of it. We're going to. Have we got any bids on the guitar?
I didn't see any tonight. No.
Okay. Okay. You know why they don't want it to sell? Because they want Manola to keep coming back and playing.
I got another one. I'll have to make another one.
Yeah.
I think Super Dave's went in the whirly swirly
Oh, really?
with a $75 bid.
No, they said there was $100 from Tom
was it?
McCann.
Okay.
That's awesome. All right. So while they're doing that, we'll probably our next. We're back in 2 weeks. Oh yeah. So I'm working on another guest. I told you I was going to have one this week, but that didn't come through. So I'm working to have another one. We'll advertise it as soon as we do.
We settled with Super Dave this time.
What?
We settled with Super Dave because we couldn't get a better guest.
No, that's not what I meant. We always have a vet. Anyway, so the next time will be a question and answer, and then if we may come back and finish off a little bit of this if I don't do it between now and then. But the only thing we have left to do, I just got to find that little sticky spot. Got to put our little ledge on there to hold it, break all the corners so that it's nice to the touch, and then spray it, and then it'll be ready to deliver to Angie. We should take the camera out when we do that.
Oh, second.
What's up?
I lost the video. Oh, there it is. Okay.
All right, do our draw.
Okay.
What's our totals? What are our totals? Any more vets to say hello to that we didn't get mentioned?
I didn't.
Danny was on. I never said hi to him. Danny Bell.
Let's see. Totals are. We had up to I think 1,080.
Hey, look what Paul Rigney just said.
You said something in here.
Yeah, well, Ken just told you that Paul said he would make another guitar.
Oh.
Really? So if we sell this guitar, Paul's going to make another one. The boy, Paul. That'll keep Manoli coming.
So Tom McCann bid
So-
100 on the Whirly Swirly.
So Tom, we're sending you the Whirly Swirl. Make sure we have your address.
We have his email address.
Email.
Contact him.
And who's getting the Purple Heart saw? It's a beautiful saw, by the way. Let me get it out of the box. I have a Vietnam vet that I'm making a couple of these for.
Steven Gunderson has the highest bid right now.
Steven, congratulations. Jake, where's my green-handled screwdriver? Is it over here?
Yeah.
You say it's over here, but it's not over here.
Yeah, it is. I just had it on there.
No, well, it's not sitting on there. I can see. I get a stubby. Any words of wisdom from Luther? I don't even have a stubby. You guys steal my screwdrivers. Well, bring it over, Rex. That's your job, son.
Well, you're on the manhunt, so I
Thank you.
let you go with it.
Are we ready for the giveaway?
I actually didn't even need a screwdriver for it. So there it is. Sean Mahaffey does the resin impregnating for us.
That almost matches the jersey.
Yeah, it's almost exact. Sweet.
It is purple. Feels great. It buffs up nicely. And I'll get rid of that fingerprint that somebody touched this with.
Okay.
By the way, do a little quick commercial. If you have tools that you want to get rid of things like fingerprints or light rust, these are called hand blocks. That looks like a fine, Jake.
Sandflex hand.
Sandflex hand blocks.
It is.
Is that a fine?
Yeah.
And they work like magic for removing I mean, there was a little bit of a fingerprint on there. Now there isn't. And I'll show you that little mark right there. It has a silicone carbide abrasive that's all the way through it. It's in a rubber compound, so it's not on the surface. And it'll last for as long as until you run out of the entire material.
Okay.
All right, we're ready?
Yeah.
Okay, let's go.
So this is for a $100 gift certificate. I forgot to mention that in the beginning, that we give away a $100 gift certificate for every $1,000 increment we get in Purple Heart donations.
And the winner is
And we cover that, by the way.
Joe Wales from Portland, Oregon.
Hey, Joe.
Congratulations.
I hope things in Portland settle down. I used to live there. Okay, any final comments? Thank you to Frick. I think we went through the entire night without a glitch.
I think so.
It must have been the sweater. Jake behind the camera, thank you. Megan helping at home in quarantine, stay there. Luther out on that beach, all by himself, we hope. Super Dave, appreciate you being on. Rex, helping out. Manoli for coming in and playing.
And Gina.
And Ken home and Gina. Gina takes
Ken,
notes.
And Mark.
And Mark Smith. Yeah, everybody. Harold, big thank you to you. That was really nice of you to donate that. And I got to remember the name of the man that donated the Purple Heart saw. And I apologize for. Do you remember, Jake?
No.
Please contact me so I can thank you and publicly thank you now in our next broadcast. All right, been great having you. We'll see you again in 2 weeks. Hopefully, I'll have a little more voice. Have a good week. 2.